Welcome to our pro sports edition of the Hawks Nest. My name is Leon Miller, and I'm here with Clay. We're going to open it up with talking about the Masters today, and it's our first Masters without Tiger Woods for the first 4 or 5 years. He just recently got in a accident, and he had surgery. It was very serious. I know he broke a few bones in his leg and everything, so he's unable to participate this year. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's definitely weird. I think a big draw to the Masters is always Tiger, especially when he come back from that back injury. Everybody wanted to see Tiger win a major, and obviously he did it a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And now people were interested to see if he could, get back on top, win another green jacket. But without Tiger, it's definitely weird, right? I think just not having that icon of the sport around is weird. I'm sure the golfers themselves even feel, Tiger just being around that clubhouse every day is definitely kind of something that I think maybe elevates some different guys' games just to compete with a guy like that. But, what do you think about it?
I agree, mostly for the same part. It's just the aspect of having Tiger Woods, in the space. No matter how he plays, I expected him to play well. He was playing well up to the point of the accident and everything. So, it definitely has an impact on the players and the ratings as well. It's more importantly, I feel bad for Tiger because I know he wanted to participate, this year. So it's just sad all the way around for real.
Yeah, I think Tiger, like you said, he was playing well, so I think he definitely could have contended for this green jacket just to see if he could get another one. But the fact that he's not in it is definitely weird, and we'll see somebody else, win a green jacket here this year. Let's go ahead and move on to the MLB. The Astros, no Justin Verlander. They lose George Springer. They're still off to a good start.
Yeah.
Is that a surprise to you being no?
It's not really a surprise because they still, the team chemistry, when you got team chemistry like that, you lose two big players, but you still have you have the rest of the guys that were on the World Series championship team, so it doesn't surprise me that they're performing at a high level. It's still early in the season. I expect them to make the playoffs and everything, so I'm not really too surprised.
I think when you look at that, especially with what they went through last year, at the whole scandal getting blown up, I think that makes the team even tighter. They got to kind of stick together, and I think you're seeing some results of that. They're off to a good start. The Phillies are off to a good start. The Orioles are off to a good start. You look around the league, and there's some teams off to some pretty good starts.
Yeah, it's a lot of teams off to a lot of good starts, and I think it turns into, a lot of teams having to believe in themselves a little bit more. It's a lot of controversy that's been going on in the MLB as of lately. You talk about the scandal that happened in the World Series. Houston, they're playing for themselves. They're playing hard now. The Cardinals are playing hard right now. They're tied for first, I believe, with the Reds in their division. Just a lot of teams playing with each other. It's a lot of chemistry. And it's a lot of new teams, a lot of new players being shifted around as well. So you kind of have to wait for things to shake out to really tell what's going to happen in baseball.
Yeah, I think if this was last year and it's a 60-game season, you can probably put more stock into 6 or 7 game, 8-game start to a season. But when you're playing a full 162 and you look at a team like the Orioles who come out and they start their season by sweeping the Red Sox, it's like, how much stock do you put into that? Because they still have to play 100-plus more games. So I think it's one thing to kind of look at it. And obviously you can talk about it because like Oakland's not off to a good start. Atlanta's not off to a good start. Tampa Bay, who was in the World Series, isn't off to a good start.
Right.
But that's the kind of the good thing about baseball, right, is it's 162 games. So you can kind of go through rough 8, 9-game patches and still have plenty of time to turn around.
Yeah, if they hit the stretch, then everything could change. And like I said, it's still early. So when it hits about the All-Star point of the season, you will really start to be able to tell who's going to do what in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that is the benchmark. I think that's a pretty good benchmark for it. Right after All-Star break, that's I think when you start to see the distance in the standings.
Yeah.
And then you kind of see the teams that are typically at the bottom will be back at the bottom. The teams that are at the top, the Astros, the Athletics, the Braves, they'll find their way back to the top, and kind of everything will start to even out. But let's move on to hockey because one team that I think had pretty high expectations going into the year, they're in maybe one of the easier divisions. It's kind of top-loaded. The St. Louis Blues find themselves out of a playoff spot after losing 6 in a row.
Yeah.
Is it panic time, or do you think they make the playoffs?
Well, it's panic time only because they have to make the playoffs. But I wouldn't say, panic as in, I don't know. Like, they still have time to make playoffs. They're not all the way out. So, they're a few points out right now. I don't think they panic, but I do think that they need a sense of urgency, and start to play well.
Yeah, they're on the outside looking in to Arizona right now, and I think coming into the year, if you told any Blues fan that, they would have told you were crazy.
Yeah, because we just went to the championship.
Just won the Cup, and you get your Cup-winning goaltender back. You lose your captain, Alex Pietrangelo, to free agency, but I think a lot of people felt like this was a team that was going to be able to make some noise, and they have made noise, but just not in a good way. They find themselves out of the playoffs. I think you've got to ride the hot hand here. Jordan Bennington's starting to play pretty well, and I think if they can start to find goal scoring, they're getting some guys back from injury. As a Blues fan, it's fun to think they're going to make the playoffs, right? But, if you look at this from just like a hockey fan, it's definitely possible that they don't make the playoffs, especially if they keep playing the way they are.
Yeah, I was going to say from the outside looking in, it isn't looking too good, but, everybody in the Blues front office believes that they can make it because, like I said, they just did it, and they're getting players back and everything. So if they could get into the motion, hit a late streak, then they could make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're coming down the stretch run, so you got to make sure you kind of work fast, make up some ground. But let us know in the comments if you think the Blues are going to make the playoffs. We're interested to see what you have to think about that. But for Leon Miller, I'm Clay Harrell, and we say have a great weekend.